Folks, and welcome to the 6 o'clock news on sbynews.com. It's been a while. We're trying to do everything we can to gear up for the new candidate interviews, which are upcoming for next week. We're scheduling them very frequently. Everybody seems to be lining up and setting up a time slot. So if you're a candidate watching this and you have yet to set up a time slot, please do so at your earliest opportunity, because it's going to be a first come, first serve thing. So those of you who have called in early on, you're getting pretty much your choice of what time you want to be in. So please keep that in mind. One of the topics I'd like to talk about today is the letter to the editor that Mr. Davis Ruark has sent out requesting 35 police officers for the city of Salisbury. Folks, one of the things that is interesting about how I explain how Salisbury News evolved and came from. I'm going to backstep just a little bit. We originally started out putting out press releases from the Salisbury Police Department, from the Sheriff's Department. This started about 4 years ago. There was a request that I do so, and one of the problems was we could not get the information directly from Chief Webster from the Salisbury Police Department. So I was able to find the information on their website, and I would just go to it 2-3 times a day and check for any updates, and we would start putting press releases out for everyone to see. And believe me, I'm going somewhere with this. What became interesting was, after a couple of years of doing this, and we'd have the Maryland State Police information, we'd have the Salisbury Police Department information, we'd have Fruitland Police Department, we'd have the Wycomico County Sheriff's Department, now even Berlin and Snow Hill and Pocomoke. We now have all kinds of press releases coming in from all kinds of different police departments. But what happened was, years later, all of a sudden we were putting out stats about how bad crime was. It was the top 10 most dangerous city in America, then number 8, then number 4. And people were going, how is this happening? Well, the problem was, before Salisbury News came along, the Daily Times, WWT, WBOC, they weren't putting out these press releases. The citizens weren't aware of how bad the crime was back then. And this was one of the reasons why I believe Chief Webster and Barry Tillman and the warden sued me. The more we grew, and the more power we had, the more news and information we get out there to everybody. And people like you would see this information and go, holy cow, where'd this come from? Or why is it so bad? What interested me the most is that crime had already been that bad. You just didn't know about it. So now comes Davis Ruark, who has found, I don't know what you want to call it, all of a sudden out of nowhere he's talking about something that really should have been mentioned years ago. We need to talk about parity, and in 1984 the Salisbury Police Department had 82 or 84 officers. It's one of the two, I believe it might have been 84, back in 1984. Okay? Today they have less than that, almost 30 years later. Now, Salisbury has gone through this tremendous growth. I mean, you had the old mall, now a new mall, you have all this transient traffic coming in from the north end of town. Just incredible growth that should have, including residential, should have required more police officers as time went on. Now, someone put a comment up on our post today saying, are you saying that Webster never asked for new police officers? No, I did not say that. There was last year, for the first time, that Webster went in front of the council and turned around and asked for more police officers, and he got turned down. Not by Debbie Campbell, not by Terry Cohen, but by the majority of the council. Louise Smith, Shaney Shields, Gary Combs, you said no. They weren't going to be a part of it. Even though they were now the 4th most dangerous city in America per capita, mind you, they refused to participate in bringing in more police officers. They would put in more paramedics at the fire department. They would spend $20–30 million on the fire department, but they weren't going to protect this city, because you know what, folks? The city of Salisbury is a business, and that's what's important. For the previous administration, they treated it as a business. Now, how do you get more money from the state and from the feds? You allow crime to continue to rise. You don't expose this information to the public, although you can't say that certain individuals in the past purposely did so, because if they made these press releases available and so forth to the rest of the media and they didn't pick up on it, how convenient. The fingers need to be pointed in all kinds of directions, including your local mainstream media. Okay? While you're buying a newspaper, they really weren't doing their job. They weren't providing. The main key reason for purchasing that paper was to keep you involved in your community, and that wasn't happening. Okay? It still isn't happening today. They're getting better at it, but it's a disservice to this community is what they provided, not a service. So, folks, you need to truly contact Mayor Ireton, contact your council members, let them know if you support this. Some might say 35 is dramatic. I say 35 is accurate. You can always come down. You can't go up. Okay? Keep that in mind. So what Mr. Ruark is trying to propose here, I think, is very fair and honorable. I hope they consider the 35 officers and put them in. They have purchased $1 million fire boat. They're spending all this money in every other department except where crime is the worst, and they're perhaps hoping that maybe the feds or the state will come up with the money, because this is embarrassing to even Martin O'Malley. I've talked to him one-on-one about that, and the bottom line is they're not going to stand for this crime in Salisbury. There's going to be a demand of all kinds of changes, and it's not going to come from the mayor. It will ultimately, but it's going to come from the governor himself, which I'm sure has already happened. They're not going to tolerate this mess. Anyway, folks, I'm going to cut short here tonight. I appreciate you being here. We always appreciate your support. We're going to try and keep this as frequent as we can to deliver a different broadcast to you. I felt this one was important enough to come down here and run this tape and produce something so that people can talk a little further about this, because I think it's a serious issue. The other thing I'll close with, Matt Massarello, last night at the Republican Club, had an incredible reception there. This guy is by far an incredible hope for this community. You're not going to find a more energetic guy than Matt Massarello. You know, the Seth Mitchell, like I've said from the very beginning, you know, nice enough guy, but just doesn't have the experience, plus the fact that we've got to worry about his defending Thomas Leggs in other criminal matters, and the fact that he may not even qualify. He probably could not be able to prosecute Thomas Leggs, and that's another major issue people need to consider while thinking about electing a new state's attorney for Wicomico County. Thanks again, folks. We appreciate it, and we will see you again soon. Take care and have a good night.